Black Skull broadcast, because even the darkest stories deserve a bright punchline.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. You guys have sent us a ton of intel this time around. Looks like we're diving deep into a galaxy far, far away.
A whole galaxy of intrigue this time, huh?
Seriously, we've got files on major factions, corporations, and you seem really interested in the Confederacy of Independent Systems, the CIS.
Yeah, the CIS. They're always keeping things interesting. Lots of moving parts over there.
To say the least. So, to get us started, it seems like the CIS joining this new alliance, the Endor Pact, is a pretty big deal.
Absolutely, especially with some of these other events happening at the same time.
Okay, so for those of us who haven't had a chance to comb through all these galactic data pads, let's start with the basics. What is the Endor Pact?
Well, your Endor Pact source lays it out as a regional alliance, mainly focused on mutual benefit and defense. Makes sense in a galaxy full of, well, dangers.
All right, got to watch your back out there. And who are the big players in this Endor Pact?
We're talking a real mixed bag of factions. You've got the Trade Federation, always a powerhouse, alongside the Krath, the Matukai dragons.
Hold on, Patukai dragons, like actual dragons.
Well, the name might be a bit of a throwback, but yeah, they're an ancient warrior group. Along with them, you've got the Colpravis, Churka Corporation, and Alpha Medical.
Wow, talk about a diverse group. What could a bunch of mega corporations and warrior monks possibly have in common?
It might seem odd, but alliances like this aren't unusual. The Endor Pact document, plus that interview, the ESNB interview with Secretary General of the Endor Pact, it basically boils down to strength in numbers. The galaxy is a dangerous place. This gives them some protection, a way to share resources.
Right, it's like a galactic game of Risk. Each faction has their territory and they got to team up to survive. Speaking of, when did the CIS get involved with this Endor Pact?
Relatively recently, actually. Year 24, according to that ESNB interview.
The CIS in an alliance. I mean, didn't they build their reputation on, well, not playing nicely with others?
They've had their moments. That History of the Confederacy source you sent, talk about a wild ride. It's all boom and bust cycles with them. They rise to power, usually by rebelling against something only to splinter apart.
Internal conflicts. Or something putting pressure on them from the outside.
Often both. It's a pattern with them. Unpredictable, to say the least.
So are we seeing that pattern repeat itself now? Because I'm looking at their recent past. That History of the Confederacy source mentions the Hevrel Federation leaving and the creation of something called the Northern Separatist State.
And that's what makes their decision to join the Endor Pact so intriguing. Is this a move for stability, or are they just setting the stage for the next big shakeup?
Million credit question right there. On the one hand, the Endor Pact could offer them some stability, right? Support. But the CIS is also notorious for attracting some, shall we say, strong personalities.
Right. It's almost like chaos just seems to follow them around.
Exactly. So what's the real motivation here? Are they seriously looking for some stability this time, or is there something else going on?
Well, that ESNB interview we keep mentioning, they talked to a high-ranking CIS official, Sio Kutol, and he painted a rosy picture. Mutual support, growth, sharing technology, joint ventures, all good things, at least on paper.
Okay, but you're saying on paper, so what's the catch?
Even Kutol admitted these alliances have their downsides. Keeping everyone on the same page, especially when you've got groups used to doing their own thing, that's tough.
And let's be real, the CIS is not exactly known for their internal unity.
Exactly. They've got a history of infighting, power struggles. Hard to see them fitting neatly into this new power structure.
It's like trying to fit a square block into a round hole, you know? They need the Endor Pact for support, for legitimacy even, but their whole way of operating, it clashes.
And that's where things get really interesting, because at the same time, all this is happening, you've got those corporate leadership changes you mentioned earlier.
Now, this is where things get juicy. Two big names in the corporate world switching jobs on the same day. You got to wonder, is this connected to the CIS and the Endor Pact? It's kind of sus, right? Like, what are the odds?
It's definitely a coincidence that raises eyebrows. The same day the CIS is getting comfy in the Endor Pact, bam, two major corporations swap out the bosses. Corellian Engineering and Binring Biomedical.
And these aren't just any corporations, right? I was looking at the intel on Binring Biomedical and Corellian Engineering Corporation. These guys are plugged right into the Galactic Empire. Nationalized, aren't they?
Which, let's not forget, has some history with the CIS. It's not exactly a friendly past, so to see this kind of personnel shakeup at this particular moment, it does make you wonder.
Makes you go, right. Okay, so we've got Galen Darksall out at Corellian Engineering, James Hudson's his replacement. But wait, wasn't Hudson running Binring Biomedical?
Mhm.
And now Aria Solis is in that seat. It's like musical chairs up in the executive suites.
It does make you want to check who's writing the music, right? Unfortunately, that GNS events and brief report just gives us the who, not the why.
So, time to put on our analyst hats. What could this mean? What if these new leaders are, say, more open to the CIS? Or at least not so quick to follow the Empire's lead?
That could be a game changer for the Endor Pact. Think about it. Those corporations, they're practically part of the Empire's backbone. What if they start leaning toward the CIS's interests? Suddenly, the Endor Pact has a whole lot more leverage.
And maybe a target on their back?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Empire can't be happy about their own corporations getting cozy with, their exes.
Exactly. More power always comes with more attention, wanted or not. And let's not forget, the CIS, even with a fancy new alliance, they still have to deal with themselves.
They're not known for their kumbaya moments, right?
Even with the Endor Pact as a potential stabilizing force, the CIS has this knack for, well, imploding. Can this new group at the top keep everyone on the same side?
Especially now that they're rubbing shoulders with some of the biggest players in the galaxy. The pressure's on. Can they be reliable? Responsible?
Or will those old habits die hard? Power grabs, backstabbing, tripping over their own feet, right when they're about to cross the finish line.
And how do these new CEOs factor into all of this? Could they be what finally gets the CIS to play nice? Or could they make those tensions even worse?
It's too early to say for sure, but it's a development worth watching, no doubt. The CIS has a real talent for doing the unexpected, good or bad.
That's what makes them so fascinating, right? Total wild card, throwing a wrench into this whole galactic order thing.
Which brings us back to square one. What does it all mean for the CIS? Where do they fit in this whole galaxy-sized puzzle?
Feels like we're at a turning point. But which way things will turn? It's anybody's guess.
And that uncertainty, that's what makes this whole thing so captivating, so potentially explosive. It's like we're looking at a map of the galaxy, right? But instead of stars and planets, it's these factions and corporations all clumped together.
And they're all pulling on each other, trying to shift things, grab more power for themselves. So how do we make sense of it all? Where do we even start?
It's messy, no doubt, but there are threads we can follow. It's like you said earlier, a game maybe with rules we don't fully get yet, but we can watch how the players move.
All right, so who are we watching? Who's making the big moves in this galactic game of chess?
Well, the CIS, for starters. Can they actually make this alliance thing work? Or will they fall back into their old habits?
Yeah, because history tends to repeat itself, doesn't it?
And what about the Empire? Their own corporations potentially siding with the CIS. Not a good look. What's their next move?
They can't be happy about that. Maybe they'll try to rein those corporations back in.
Could be. Put their own people in charge. Or maybe something more behind the scenes. Economic pressure, you know? Backroom deals. This is the Galactic Empire we're talking about.
It's a reminder. Power in the galaxy. It's not about what you have, but what you can do with it and who you know.
And those corporate leadership changes. Maybe they're the key to it all. A whole new power struggle brewing right under our noses.
So much for corporate retreats, huh? It's more like a corporate takeover.
In a way, yeah. And if our listeners want to keep up with this whole saga, they need to be paying attention to the little things.
Whispers in the cantina, right? What should we be looking out for?
Any cracks in the Endor Pact? Arguments about resources, disagreements on strategy. Is the CIS playing nice, or are they causing trouble? Those could be signs of bigger problems.
Okay, got it. Watch the Endor Pact for any drama. What about those new CEOs? Should we be watching for them to make any power moves?
Absolutely. Keep tabs on what they're saying, who they're meeting with. Are they really neutral, or do they have their own game going on?
It's like we've got front row seats to the biggest show in the galaxy.
Yeah.
And the stakes are astronomical.
And no one knows how it's going to end. That's what makes it so exciting.
Well, I don't know about you, but I am on the edge of my seat. This has been an amazing deep dive, but it feels like we've only scratched the surface.
That's the thing about the galaxy, isn't it? Always more to discover.
For sure.
Yeah.
But if there's one thing we've learned today, it's that things are about to get a lot more interesting for the CIS and the Endor Pact.
And for anyone else caught in their orbit.
Exactly. So to our listeners out there, keep your eyes peeled and your data pads handy. Because in a galaxy this unpredictable, the next big story
Could be just around the corner.
And that's it for this deep dive into the ever-shifting landscape of galactic politics and power. Until next time, stay curious, and may the Force be with you.